Hey guys, welcome back again to my channel. I am so excited to be doing this video today. I had a few recommendations, as you can tell by the title of the video, on how I do my eyebrows. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to show you what I do to my eyebrows to get that full look once my makeup application is done. This is kind of like my normal process where I usually do my face and then last thing will be my eyebrows. I have gone where I've done my eye makeup and then my eyebrows and then the rest of my face. But I feel like I find it best for me when I do my entire face, put my foundation, everything, and then leave the brows for last. Some people do it the first thing. It really depends on, what you're comfortable with. But for me, I found it the best to be the last thing. I don't know, it's kind of like when you're, I guess, like doing something where like you're painting or you're creating something, you're making something, and you just need that last finishing touch. For me, it's like the eyebrows. Like the last thing I want to do is just do that and just complete the entire look, because a look can look great, but until you finish the eyebrows, it's like done. I'm going to show you the tools and things that I use to do my eyebrows, and I'll talk a little bit about how I maintain my brows and how I got these brows. So if you're interested, then just keep watching. So to start off, we're going to talk about how I got my brow shape. Literally, I had to grow out my brows for like, I forgot how long it took, honestly. I did this like several years to grow, where I just got to the point where my brows were just so thin, like back in the 90s, yes, the 90s and the early 2000s, all the way up until about when I was in college, so like the late 2000s. My brows back in the day, it was like the skinny, thin, like pencil drawn brows was the thing. So my brows were super thin. If I can find a picture, I will insert it here. My brows looked horrible, and especially my senior picture for high school, my brows like girl, like it was bad. So I think it was about somewhere in college I decided, you know what, this is it. The whole thick brows was becoming a thing, and so I just went for it. I grew my brows out. I looked crazy for a little while, but it was so worth it. I got my brows so nicely shaped. It was great, and I had that for several years. And then, over the course of time, you overpluck, and then things just change, and then they just kind of like started getting thinner and thinner. And so probably like 5 or 6 years ago, I'm like, you know what, I'm done. I need to fix my brows. So I regrew them again, went through that awkward phase, and finally, after I groomed them, I went to go get my brows done, get my shape, and that's been it. So maintaining and grooming your brows is almost an everyday process. Literally, I take care of my brows almost every single day. I know that might sound a lot, but honestly, it's been the best way I have kept my brows and kept my shape. I really don't spend any money on my brows normally. Like the last time I had my brows waxed was when I had it reshaped, which was years ago. I don't get my brows threaded. I don't get my brows waxed. I don't go anywhere to get my brows done. I just kind of maintain it myself. So after my brows grew out and I went to go get it professionally done, because I didn't trust myself to like give myself a wax. I have tried it before, but it just wasn't as effective. I don't go anywhere to get my brows like upkeep or anything. I just do it on my own. So once I got the shape that I wanted, I just literally every morning, I'll come in, I'll just like pluck the little hairs. I was doing that before I started this video because I didn't want it to be like, I didn't want you guys to see all my little hairs, because I do have them. If we look really close, I have hairs. But I will just go every day and I make sure I follow my line. I just pluck underneath, all under here. I do have some really thick brow hairs, so I tend to go for those. And then there are like the really fine light ones, which I'm just like, whatever, just the ones that I can see, I pull them out. And then I'll also groom on top of my brows. So I feel like the top of my brows, the shape isn't the best, but I try to groom around them. And then I also trim my brows. So the tools I use to maintain my brows is a brow scissors. This one here is from, I have no idea what the brand is, but it's a really good one, and it's lasted me for many years. It hasn't worn out yet. So I will use this with a little comb. Mine is a bit old and I probably need a new one. I do have another one here. So just something like this. It doesn't have to be expensive. It could be cheap. Whatever you have. Like this was from like, I have no idea. But literally what I do to maintain the brows besides plucking underneath is I groom them, because my brows does grow very fast and they're pretty long. What I'll do is I'll brush it with the comb end. I will just go in and brush them, kind of just brush it upwards. And then I'll use the actual bristles to go back in and just make sure I get them all up. Then I will go back to the comb side and I will do kind of this thing where I like lift up my brows. But you want to be careful. You don't want to just go like this and then cut, because you're going to cut like half your brows and everything will just not be, you know, the shape that you want. Let me zoom in just a little bit for you guys. Okay, so hopefully I can stay in frame here. But what I'll do is I will brush upwards and I'll hold it at an angle, because of course I don't want to cut off too much. And I usually kind of just pick it up to see, is there any really long pieces like this one right here? And I'll just go and trim that. I'll do it to both sides. I recently did this, I think maybe a couple of days ago. And I make sure not to go all the way up, just kind of like this main area. And I'll hold an angle, make sure I don't get too much. Then I'll just cut with this little scissor, not too much of it though. And then I just kind of like cut depending on how much I want, and I'll brush. So you want to cut and brush and cut. Make sure that you are not cutting too much. So like this, I feel like I can cut a little bit here. So I do this maybe like once a week. When I really start noticing the brows just getting too long, then I'll just do that. And then, you know, for the end of your brows, I will kind of brush down. And I try not to cut too much with the ends. So I try to shape them. If I see one that's like sticking out, then I might go for that. But other than that, I try not to. Unless they're like sticking down, that's when I will go in with the scissors. So you have to be really careful and just cut what you need to cut. I try not to overcut, because I rather have to go in a few times than to, you know, cut it wrong and then have to live with like a messed up brow. So another tool I use is this here from the brand Flawless Finishing Touch. This is their brow little electric razor. They're about $20 in store. It has a very tiny little tip that's just perfect for around the brows. I'll take this and just kind of clean up the edges all along my brows, kind of underneath, to get those really fine hairs kind of here. But you need to be very careful, because this is a razor and you don't want to accidentally like, you know, create any kind of mishap with your brows. So you have to be really careful, but I use it to clean around when I want something really quick. I know some people will use like a little mini eyebrow razor, face razor. You can do that. I might find this actually works for me. And now to make the magic happen, I love this right here. This is from Anastasia. It's the Brow Duo. This is in the shade dark brown. It has one that's lighter tone, one that's more of a darker brown. And then I use, this is specifically an eyebrow brush from Anastasia. It has a spoolie end and it has an angled tip. So any brush that you have that's like this will work. If you're not able to get a brush, literally you can find just an angled brush, and then you can either use like an old mascara wand once you clean it and everything, or just find a spoolie and like brush your hairs, or you can even use the tool we were using before. You could go back to one of these to like brush it out, but a spoolie really helps. So when you're using a powder duo brow powder, you will take the lightest shade. You're going to use that for the inner part of your brows, and then the darker shade you'll use for the ends. That's kind of why they have the duo tones, and that has worked for me. I also use their brow pencil in brunette. Now comparing the two, I love brow pencils to a certain point, but then also I feel like I get the best finish, the best brows when I use powder. If you don't have access to brow powder, you don't have to have this. You literally can use eyeshadows. So if you have eyeshadows, kind of find something that's like dark to match your hair, or whatever, you know, whatever shade your hair is, and then you can find like a lighter shadow that's a little bit lighter, and you can have like the same thing. So you don't have to buy this, or you don't have to buy specific brow powders. You can literally use eyeshadow and it'll work just the same. All right, let's get down to business. Let's do these brows and let's see the difference that happens when we do our brows. I will say that my brows are in no way like a perfect. They are, the shape is still kind of like a little off here and there. I feel like sometimes I can't get my brows to, you know, look how I want it to look, but just remember they are sisters. They're not twins. They're not going to be identical. So one brow is going to look a little different than the other. It's just normal. Everyone has the same issue. Don't ever expect them to look exactly the same because they're going to be a little bit different because again, they're sisters, not twins. I'm going to start off by picking up the light shade with my angled brush. So when I do my brows, I follow the line that's underneath my brows. So here I will literally draw a line. That's literally the first thing I do. Then I'll either pick up more shadow or just use what's already on my brush and kind of just apply that in by going upwards. So you want to do upward motions. If you have like bald spots in your brows, that is normal. That happens to me sometimes. It'll come, it'll go, just really varies. So again, brows are never perfect. You just want to follow the direction of the hair. Then I'll create a line on top as well. Whatever's left over, I use that to follow a line on top. Don't be scared of it being super harsh because ultimately we are going to blend this by using the spoolie. So I carried in up to about here, almost like halfway, and I just leave the ends. Then I'll go into the other side of the brow. So I normally apply the first shade on both brows first. That way it's only that shade that's on my brush. And then I'll go in with the darker shade. That way now I'm dealing only with the darker color. So for the darker shade, you're gonna go right underneath. I usually start from the arch. So wherever like we have like a straight line here, then we have an arch. So I will go in right underneath with the darker shade and just literally line underneath. Because you're kind of, this is what defines the brow. It creates those shadows to make it look like super clean and precise. If you apply too much, don't get scared. We're going to blend this out. You can see I added a little too much down here, but that's okay. You can already see how much definition is created. And I'll go in on top. And then you just want to follow the line of your brows. You can go a little bit above those hairs. That way you can create a line. And I usually just go in a little bit further because I know we carried it halfway, but I just go in a little bit to darken it up. And this is where you can actually shape your brow. You're gonna create the shape that you want. You can apply as much shadow to create it as dark as you would like or as light as you want to go. Alright, and now we're done. Just kidding. Okay, so now for this part, we're literally just going to groom just to blend out the shadow. So you'll take your spoolie end and I start with the inner brows. And I literally just like blend it. You're just brushing the hairs in an upward motion. And then once I get to the top part, I go sideways. Don't worry about if you mess with the foundation, that's all fixable. And then I go sideways because the first part is usually groomed upwards and then this side goes kind of sideways. So then I just follow the direction of the brows. I'm going to go in underneath. You can see we're already blending that out. Go on the actual brows. These go downwards, so we're going to go downwards. Sometimes you can over blend and kind of lose your shape and you can always just go back, add more and reshape. I usually keep a little sponge nearby so I can clean up like the edges. You can always use concealer to go back around. Do you guys see the difference already? This is the side that we have not groomed and this is the one that we just groomed, so you can definitely see how much of a difference it makes when you're blending out your powder. I think that is key when you're trying to get your brows to look a certain way, making sure that you're blending out the brow powder. So blending out is key in almost everything when it comes to makeup. Blending is going to make your makeup look on a whole another level. All right, let's do the next side. Again, I start inwards, the inner half of the brow. Make sure you blend the edges. Alright guys, that is literally how I do my brows. That is the tools I use and the steps that I take when I'm doing my brows. It literally is super easy. I find it the easiest to do my brow using some kind of like a brow powder, or like I said, you can use an eyeshadow. I do use pencils, but I don't use them as often as I do a brow powder. There is one more step that you can do to keep your brows looking great that I don't normally do. I will go in and use a brow gel. This one by Anastasia is like magic. It like locks your brows in. It's literally a clear brow gel that you will comb into your hair. Once you're done, you just use it as a setting, not like a setting spray, but it's for your brows. And this will keep your brow hair in place so you can party all night. So going back real quick to what I was saying, I do use brow pencils here and there. These are some of the ones I have used. I really like the Benefit pencil. This in number 5, I believe. These are all very similar. I just recently got this one from L'Oreal. I've used it a little bit. I do love when they are a really fine tip. This has worked the best for me when it comes to brow pencils. It's easier to like just draw in like little hairs with this because it's so small. You create little like strokes of hair. I've also used one from NYX and also from Urban Decay, but my favorite is the one, it's basically the same as these. It's from Anastasia, and I also have been loving this one from NYX. They're all the same where they have that tiny little end. This one is super affordable. I think it's between somewhere around $10, whereas other brands like Benefit and Anastasia, they're about $19 to $23. So this one is super affordable, and it's the same concept where it has the pencil on one end and it has a spoolie on the other. That's another way. Maybe I can do a video next time using a brow pencil. For my everyday, when people ask me, oh, how do you do your brows? It's this little guy here that I use that creates the magic. So that is how I do my brows. As you can see, it definitely made my look more fuller and complete. I hope this was helpful. I will link the different items I showed today in the box below. If you're wondering what's on my lip today, it's something new that I've tried and I'm absolutely loving it. It's from Dior. It is their Dior Addict Lip Tattoo Longwear Colored Tint, and this is in the color Natural Berry. Anyways, that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching and for coming back. If you're new to my channel, thank you so much for being here and for subscribing. I am so excited you're a part of my YouTube family. And if you're oldie, thank you so much for being here and sticking around. I hope you find this video helpful. So guys, thanks again so much for watching. Until next time, I will talk to you later. Bye!